So for those of you who aren't familiar, let me give you a little bit of an introduction of both these gentlemen. Dr. Fred Moss is a psychiatrist who served in the mental health industry for almost 4 decades, having consulted with patients and practitioners in medical facilities and nonprofit organizations and community groups. And he's known as a non-diagnosing psychiatrist. He's committed to shifting the conversation of mental illness on a global scale. And his services include mental health, coaching, speaking, consulting, and so much more. And we're going to talk about a new project that Dr. Fred has spearheaded. And Alec Stern is an entrepreneur, keynote speaker, startup mentor, innovator, best known as America's startup success expert and the hyper growth expert. He's been a co-founder or a founding team member of 8 startups with 5 exits, 2 IPOs, and 3 acquisitions, and is a primary member of Constant Contact. You're familiar with Constant Contact founding team. Alec was one of the original 3 who was with the company for 18 years, from startup to IPO to a $1.1 billion acquisition. So I'm so glad to have both you gentlemen here. And I'm going to start with Dr. Fred, because Alec, you and Dr. Fred and I are part of an important discussion that Dr. Fred had a burning desire to put us together and to address to the world. We've had, just so you know, in case you haven't been aware, we've had some discussions on AI, both positive and not so positive, and the things like that. But Dr. Fred, what is going on right now? What is this project that you're spearheading that we're working on together?
Well, thanks, Rex. Really great to be here. Hello, Alec. Good to see you this morning. And let me talk to you a little bit about what the project is about. The project has a title. It's called AI Meets Mental Health. So there's something there that is self-explanatory, and it extends beyond mental health. It's really, what is the impact that AI is making on humanity? And therefore, what is the impact that mental health or that humanity is making on AI? What is the interface? What is the agitated interface that we're talking about between the birth of this new species called artificial intelligence, which is growing at exponential rates? I think everybody knows that now. You know, just a few months ago, it was something that maybe you could take it or leave it. And now it's already becoming entirely dominant in so many different industries, threatening jobs in some industries, actually assisting and consulting massively in other industries. And some of the very largest industries in the world are being, fundamentally affected by this emergence of AI. I saw this coming. I'm not that much of a visionary to see this. It's very clear that AI and the mental health field, and AI and anything to do with our mental health as humanity, would have a relationship that would be foundationally critical. What's going to happen to humanity over the next several months, Rex? That's what we're really looking at, right? We're looking at what is really here, and what is our humanity? Where does our humanity stop and machines start? Or where does machines stop and we start? I mean, what part of us isn't a machine? We start looking at, what's missing is our humanity. What's missing is our soul. What's missing is our sentience. And you start really asking those questions. It was very clear to me that I wanted to put together a group of influencers, thought leaders, brilliant thinkers to put together a conversation to look at how we can preserve what this thing is called humanity. Like we just heard, who am I becomes a really important question in the world of the interface of AI and all of humanity and all of our endeavors, including all the industries we've developed and all the relationships we have with ourselves and others. And I think that's what we really put together.
Well, that's beautiful. And we'll talk more about that in just a second. But let's bring Alec in, because Alec, you deal with people and businesses and automation and all sorts of things. What in terms of business and what do you foresee is happening with AI in the world today?
Yeah, and I appreciate it. And good to see you both. This is an exciting topic and something that everyone needs to get in the game and participate with. It's very critical for us to understand, the impact not only for AI on efficiencies and automation and things within business, but also how does it affect us personally, with our mental health and other things. So it's very, very important. I've been trailblazing in technology for far longer than most. But the key thing, and there's just been industries that have been created. I've been fortunate to, for example, software as a service, SaaS, that everyone knows today. We were one of the first 2 SaaS offerings ever. And so trailblazing as new technologies are coming out, adopting them, and then, having that work for business. And so, I think AI and forms of AI have been around for a long time, and some of the efficiencies have been put in. We've had some automation and things like call centers and to be the routing of calls and so on. But now taking it to 10x it to kind of what's sort of transpiring today. And there's a lot of places where it makes great sense and where it can give you some efficiencies. And I like to say, when you're, you need to stay in your lane, with the things that you're good at, because there's an opportunity cost to go out of your lane. And so just as there's a cost for others to do it if you're not doing it yourself. And, and there's some of the things can be automated and be handled through AI. And I think that make total sense. And there are certainly others that don't. And I think there's a balance there. And until the day that AI can really read someone's energy and the emotion and really sort of see the how they react to the things you say, then I'd say it could be replacing some of the things that are most important could replace some of the things that are most important in business conversation and relationships and partnerships and so on. But I'm just a firm believer as a people person that I'll never replace a bunch of those, And so some people think, I could just stay home and, AI is going to just do all the work for me. And it's not, and just think of the one basic concept so we can just frame that.
Well, and this is a great conversation because we've had a lot of, people are very excited about AI and about advancements and what, the time saving and all those kinds of things. But there is some concern, especially as Dr. Fred would mention, or as you brought up, what happens if AI starts diagnosing people or starts, running the insurance, choosing who gets treated and who doesn't, or how they get treated. So between the two of you, maybe we could address this. And Fred, maybe you could also, there's a website and we've had a symposium and things. So maybe you can share that information and we can put it in the chat and things so that people can follow through and see the videos and the talks and the different things that we've been putting together with Alec and you and myself and others.
Yeah, sure. And there is a website or a landing page / website that I invite people to take a peek at. It's called AImeetsMentalHealth.com, AImeetsMentalHealth.com. And there you can get a little look at the symposium or the first mastermind that we put together with the 3 of us and another man who deserves some credit, Eric Zender, who was there with us, and a number of people who attended and who have now watched it afterwards. You start looking at the interface, like you asked, between AI and then doing diagnoses and then making determinations about who received treatment, which treatment they received, actually, like dictating the actual treatments that people should get given the symptoms or the presentation that gets plugged into the large language model. This is entirely frightening, of course, and essentially terrifying. And what we have here is machines actually determining what is a normal human being and what kind of treatment might be necessary for a normal human being. It's most extraordinary that we have reached a point where we start taking on machines as being not only a consultant or an assistant, but actually the decision maker along these important algorithms. Like who gets treatment and, even more importantly, which treatment exactly they should receive. It's all based, large language models don't think into the future. They take what's been swept up in the past, evidence-based wise, and then make decisions based on what's there, like, the next word analysis. And we start really looking at, well, how can something new really actually be developed if that's not just a conglomeration of old approaches put together? And there's some frightening aspects to this that are like inherent in the whole notion that machines, our friends or our adversaries, whatever you want to call machines, start making a decision about what normal is, what deserves to be treatment, and who deserves to get it, when we ourselves as humans haven't frankly decided what it means to be normal. And now we're asking on human, we're asking an unhuman machine to make that decision for us. And it's not only happening in mental health. And I think Alec has really shined a light on that for me, to really realize that this is only a microcosm of what really turns out to be an even larger issue, because it happens in the business world, it happens in the industry world, it happens in relationships all around. And our mental health is a key component in all of our interactions. Mental health does not equal mental illness. So let's face it, we're all dealing with our own mental health issues. But we start looking at really the impact of our mental health on all the things that we're involved in all areas of life. And using a machine as an assistant or as a consultant is entirely different than using a machine as a final determiner of directions that we should go in. And that's what I think we really need to be cautious about.
Well, those are really excellent points. And Alec, you having been in business for so long, I'm sure you've seen both the upside and the downside to overly regulated business or under-regulated business, or things that that start one way and end up a different way. You see that while there may be great potential for good, that there could also be, as Fred talks about, great potential for possible harm.
Yeah. So I mean, there's top ahead just came to me, like kind of a false sense of security. Like you're chasing something in business, like whatever that milestone is, or whatever you feel you're working on now to go to that next level. And, and there's this false sense of security, like I can just, plug it into a system and it's going to spit out, the answer. And, there's so many other factors and a lot of human factors that are coming into play on whether, the answer it provides is the right answer, most importantly for you and for your business. And that's the big challenge. Like, people can check a box and get answers to a lot of things, but is it really right for you? And this is again back to the human factor. Fred alluded to, and being a people person. But if you, for example, people come to me, I get hundreds a week of people coming to me. What do you think of my idea? My response every single time is, doesn't matter what I think, what's your target market think? And so to go out to really truly get in front of your target market, either in an aided way or an unaided way, like aided to guide them and give them a lot of the info, and unaided to just lead them and just sort of see how things resonate and how they react and so on. You can't get that if you're going to plug it into a machine that's going to go and just give you some quick answers. So it's very, very important to not lose sight of the fact that there are a lot of things that this doesn't make sense, and it needs to be something where you're out there and in front of your target market, not only in those earlier stages, but all the time. And that's not going to go away, and it's very important to be part of the mix for a business going forward, regardless of what A is going to maybe supplement in. I'll give you one just quick example. When you're starting a business and it's really early, and you think about, well, what's the overall market size and opportunity, and how big is this? How do we frame that? There are research companies that'll charge you a couple of $1,000s or more, and you may or may not even get kind of the info you're looking for. Could you easily go and start to search through, and ask these questions of AI to come back and give you some of those? So when you think of like, just supporting data points and research and some of those key areas as I'm referring to, their AI could really be a great help and speed up the process. So when you're a startup, you might not have $5,000 for research reports or $10,000 even. And so could you go and get a lot of that to start to frame it to for your own good, not so much to put it in a PowerPoint and present it to somebody. It's for your own, like, how big is this market, and should we really be going after it? So a lot of questions can be answered with the tools that the way AI can go out and do that research and provide the answers to you.
That's wonderful. I want to remind the audience who's watching now and in replay to go and visit the website that's in the chat room, aimeetsmentalhealth.com, and see the conversation that we've had with Eric Zender and others, the three of us on this panel, and to see the commercial. There's a trailer, actually. I shouldn't say commercial, but see the trailer that's now there, and the video that Dr. Fred has to introduce this topic. In the field of psychology, psychiatry, even law. We know that self-assessment is most often the least reliable form of evaluation. So if we're assessing ourselves, sometimes we snow ourselves, we con ourselves, we lie, we try to put on a better face. What happens if we give that assessment over to a machine that can't factor the human response into it, because it's a machine? It can only go based on algorithms, whether it's a learning machine or not. It's going to be subject to its own system of rules. And when it comes to diagnoses or prognoses, for that matter, the ability for somebody who right now may have a presenting problem to get better, do we really want to hand that over to a non-human, non-intelligent form of software, essentially? And I say that for this reason. In the human potential field that we're in, one of the biggest opportunities that we stress is to take responsibility for yourself, and to understand that you're the decision maker and you're in charge of your thoughts, your emotions, your speech, and your behavior, so that you can set your destiny. What happens when you give your destiny and your responsibility over to something to decide for you, instead of you having that responsibility?
Yeah, it's a really, really great question. And, I noticed a couple things. Number one, even we as humans, before machines took a hold of what's going on in this field, we had the audacity to think that we understood what diagnoses were.
Yeah.
In the first place. Like, what is bipolar disorder? What is Asperger's syndrome? What is, narcissistic personality disorder? What is social anxiety, social phobia? Those kind of things that are thrown around now as if they're very real, when in fact they're quite fluid in the first run. And that's why I've dedicated my career to really undiagnosing, to help people see exactly what you just said, which is we're all humans going through this crazy life of ours with the multiple challenges, obstacles, and hurdles that await us in every single moment. And, it's possible that these diagnoses aren't really real in their own right, at least as distinct aspects of life, that even though we treat them as if they're monumentally true.
Can I ask? This is just great line, and people have to join us in the symposium to find out more of the answers, in depth. But so many people proudly wear their labels. They go, "I'm an introvert. I'm bipolar. I have ADHD. I've been diagnosed with this, that, and the other thing." Well, so if somebody's starting to assign those things to you that you can now proudly wear and go about, whether they're correct or not, if the diagnosis is fictitious to begin with and somebody accepts it and then wears it as a hat, and in Alec, in business, they can say, "Well, I'm an entrepreneur, a solopreneur. We wear labels and judge ourselves." So this sounds like a pretty ripe area of concern.
It is a ripe area of concern. And, the other thing I noticed, and I'd love to hear Alec's view on this. The other day I asked AI to help me with I think it was Claude that I asked to help me with a post, a social media post. And it created something that I was in pretty significant agreement with. It was like, okay, I could actually have said that. It said that even better than I could, or some sort of version of that. And then I posted it and realized that something very dear and near to me was missing from that post. Even though I sort of agreed or did agree or even felt like it superseded that which I would have written on my own. It wrote it better with no grammatical Fredisms in there. And, there was an opportunity for us to see what's missing. Alec, what was missing in my post? What do you think is missing when I take the post right out of the large language model and drop it in as my blog, or the way I think of things, or the way I really, the way my mindset and my view? I noticed when I posted it, even with a DALL-E image, a DALL-E 3 image that came with it, that something near and dear was missing from that post. What is that thing that was missing, Alec?
There's I didn't see the post, but I don't know. You should have written side by side your own and then asked AI.
Yeah.
To see how close you were, but emotion and passion and conviction, and AI is not gonna really just be able to represent exactly what you say and how you say, and you with all of your years of expertise, you would probably be writing in a different tone, and with certainly with your expertise kind of weaved in. And so you know, if you probably got something very vanilla that sounded great, but is it truly you? And I think one of the things I can tell, you know, honestly, from people that I'm close to that are putting up posts, and I could tell they didn't write some of these, you know, which ones were written by AI or some other source versus their own. And when you lose the personal touch there, you know, there's a lot of times you can see right through it, and that's not putting your best foot forward. You know, while it's fast and it may be efficient, that, you know, if you know, you need to take that a little extra time and write it yourself, and really make it about you and who you are versus what that system's going to tell you.
Awesome. Now, just so people know, there are some times when the website seems to get bogged down. It's aimeetsmentalhealth.com, but I'm trying to access it right now, and I have been able to access it. So there is another website there that is in the chat that people should copy in case you have any, or they could search it, correct? Dr. Fred, how can they easiest find us?
Yeah, it does point to the chat that's there, the welcometohumanity.kartra.com chat there. It should go there directly. You just www.aimeetsmentalhealth.com sometimes gets you there quicker. But it shouldn't be, typically it shouldn't be a problem. It should go there via all the browsers. But I have had people tell me already that there is occasionally
sometimes. But, you know, there's also a Facebook group that is dedicated to this topic as well.
Yeah, we're looking at putting together a Facebook group, actually, you know, one that really makes a lot of sense, that where people can come in. And that's what the whole point is of this mastermind, is to pull people together who want different levels of involvement. Do you want to be in the inner circle, or do you want to simply be an observer, or do you want to be a contributor at some level? And it's in development. The three of us have talked about that, like the best way to, you know, to make this thing fly, so that people get, they can land on the topic where using their own interests and strengths properly, whether or not they want to contribute, or whether or not they want to actually be contributed to by the processes that we develop as the discussions and the assets grow over the next few months and years.
I'm going to give each of you, you know, some final moments for comments, but I would like to add that, you know, the point of this is to not just let things set our future for us, but to actually create a conversation with people either in the Facebook group or during our symposiums, as you just described, so that we as humans take control of our destiny and shape it in the most positive and powerful way for ourselves, and not let things run us over. So I'm very pleased to be a part of this and have Alec and you and Eric and others to you know, be able to discuss this topic. And I want to invite anyone watching right now to go to the website, get involved, and help us help the world with something that we're faced with. I mean, it's not going away.
Not going away.
So, gentlemen, well, if we had to wrap it up, because we're going to have to wrap it up, what do you really want? Additionally, what do you want to leave the audience with in terms of both a warning, a positive message, or some insight that they can take with them when we leave?
Sure, I'll go, and Fred, you can wrap it up.
Thank you.
I guess the thing that I think about most really centers around, you know, the human factor, as I mentioned earlier. You know, you can't lose sight of that, and you know, one of the things that would stress somebody that ties into sort of the mental health or obstacles that exist in business. And, you know, when you hit an obstacle, you know, what do you do with that? And, you know, if you were like me years ago, I would put a little empty box, and write the obstacle down on a piece of paper and hope I could check the box. And you never do. And the next day it seems to get a bigger font, and the day after a bigger font, and it just sort of weighs on you. And oftentimes, you know, people take their bat and ball and go home in business because some obstacle has challenged them. And, you know, could you go off and ask a system how to solve the problem? And again, is it really something that's gonna give you the kind of the full insight on how to create a muscle memory to, for example, handling obstacles? And so when you, you know, when you hit an obstacle, you're not the first person that's ever done it. And so go seek counsel from others that have had the problem and have broken down how they knocked it down and give you sort of a roadmap to do that, create some small wins to get rid of the obstacle, or those that have tried to knock it down and failed. There's a lot of things that can be learned from seeking that counsel and through mentors and through other folks in business. And you need to create that muscle memory, especially as you're starting and growing a business, because once you knock that one down, the one behind it's bigger. And guess what? The one behind that one is bigger. And so do you think that a system is going to teach you here's the obstacle of the day. Let me give you the answer on how you're going to solve it. That could be the end of the business if you listen to something that doesn't allow you to actually, kind of inject some of the thoughts and some of the things around that obstacle and how it's affecting you, and going to really talk to the experts of people that have experienced it before.
Wow. Excellent point. Thank you so much. Baron Stern, thank you so much. We always should acknowledge that you are a Baron, and we're so privileged to have you here. And we have Dr. Moss.
I was thinking the same thing about Baron Stern. Thank you for that closing. That was amazing. And, one of the things that I've learned over time is that authenticity trumps agreement. And these large language models are built to agree with you. Have you ever noticed that when you drop something on that, the first thing they tell you is, "Oh, what a great idea. That is brilliant. What a tremendous course to consider." And so we get the agreement. It's actually built to agree with us by default. What's really more important than this is bringing our human self there, bringing an authentic core person to the topic that we're exploring. There are some things for which just a hammer and nail really do get the job done. There are other things that really require a human factor in order to be done authentically and really create something that can resonate with other humans and, in fact, resonate with this ever elusive thing called our soul, our personhood, our humanity. And what I invite people to really do is come aboard on this AImeetsmentalhealth.com site and join us at whatever level. If all you are is interested and you don't want to be part of it, you are very welcome to be in this group. If indeed you want to be part of this group and be kicking it around with Alec and me and Eric and Rex and others, by all means join it. And all you have to do is drop into the chat forum, give us a little bit of information about yourself. We'll give you a call and get you into the next symposium. And you can see where you land in this ever growing, incredibly important, exponentially expanding concept of AI really affecting and intruding on who we know ourselves to be as humans, so that we can actively and appropriately take this on in a way that is responsible. And that's what I'm really looking for. That's the pipe dream that I have.
Well, gentlemen, I appreciate you so much. I would add in closing that, I mentioned responsibility before, but also we have a use it or lose it brain. Our muscles will atrophy if we don't get up and walk around and move them. Our brain will atrophy if we don't do it. We've got so much technological advancement that's replacing our ability to memorize, to learn, to do math, to have a calendar, to find our way around in the world. The more that we give over to technology, the less we have to do. So where does that leave us? I don't want to not learn anything new anymore. I want to be able to be responsible for how I live my life. So I appreciate both of you being here, not only talking about the benefits of AI, but also signaling that there are some concerns about AI, and we have the opportunity to discuss it and maybe even do something about it. So we invite you to that. I'm going to turn it over to Michael because the new segment is starting. But gentlemen, Michael Silver, this is Alec Stern, this is Dr. Fred Moss. You got, if you don't, I think you know each other, but so.
Yeah, you guys are awesome. Rex, thank you so much. Alec, look forward to talking to you. Dr. Moss, that was amazing.